Hello students, welcome to the last session of Sectors of Indian Economy. In this, we learn how to create more employment, how to protect workers in the unorganized sector, sectors in terms of ownership wherein public sector and the private sector. Now the first one what we learn is how to create more employment. India is a developing economy. The nature of unemployment, therefore, sharply differs from the one that prevails in the industrial advanced countries. In the opinion of Lord Keyes, unemployment in advanced countries is a result of a deficiency of effective demand. It implied that in such economies, machinery becomes idle and demand for labor falls because the demand for the products of the industry is no longer there. A study conducted by the Planning Commission estimates that nearly 20 lakh jobs can be created in the education sector alone. Every state or region has the potential for increasing the income and employment for the people in that area. The same study by the Planning Commission says that if tourism as a sector is improved, every year we can give additional employment to more than 5 lakhs people. We must realize that some of the suggestions discussed above would take a long time to implement. Recognizing this, the central government in India made a law implementing the right to work. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005. Under this NGNRGA 2005, all those who are able to and are in need of work is guaranteed for 100 days. And this employment in a year by the government. If the government fails in its duty to provide employment, it will give unemployment allowances to the people. Now, what could be the measures that can be taken to increase the employment in rural areas? The government can improve the irrigation facilities so that farmers harvest 2 or 3 crops in a year. Thus, more people can be employed. More dams should be built on rivers so that more water can be provided to small farmers to increase the number of crops grown annually. The government can provide better roads and improve transportation and storage facilities which will benefit the small farmers, and many people will be employed in these sectors. Honey collection centers and vegetable and fruit processing units should be set up. More cottage industries and services should be promoted in rural areas with soft loans and marketing support. Now, let's see another way of classifying activities in the economy. This looks at the way people are employed. Now, what are the conditions at work? How are the people at work? Are there any rules and regulations that are followed as regard to their employment, to the workers' employment? Now, let's see. The difference between the organized sector and the unorganized sector. What do I mean by saying an organized sector? Organized sector covers the business where the terms of employment are regular and people have assured jobs. Whereas in unorganized sector, it is constituted by the small and scattered units which have remained outside the control of the government. And what about the regulations? In an organized sector, the government laid rules and regulations to follow, and they strictly follow that. In an unorganized sector, there are rules and regulations but are not followed by the government. In organized sector, the payment, the salaries are paid as per the basic wage law. In an unorganized sector, the wages are low and irregularly paid. The security in the organized sector, wherein the people enjoy the security of employment, is there in the organized sector. But the employment is not secured in an unorganized sector. The benefits are being enjoyed by the organized sector, by the employees of the organized sector, wherein they enjoy the insurance and the medical claims and the benefits by them. Whereas in an unorganized sector, workers here don't have any insurance or medical benefits. The termination of the employees in the organized sector. The employees of the organized sector cannot be forced to leave the job without any strong reason. Whereas in an unorganized sector, the workers can be asked to leave the job without any reason. The unorganized sector constitutes 92% of the employed people and only 50% of the GDP of the country is taken from the organized sector. Whereas in an unorganized sector, it constitutes of 92% of the employed people and it constitutes only 50% of the GDP of the country. And people in the organized sector enjoy all the extra benefits. The people in the unorganized sector don't have any extra benefits. But how to protect the workers who are there in the unorganized sector? The organized sector offers jobs that are most sought after. It is also common to find many organized sector enterprises in the unorganized sector. Since the 1990s, it is also common to see a large number of workers losing their jobs in the organized sector. In the rural areas, the unorganized sector mostly comprises of landless agricultural laborers, small and marginal farmers, sharecroppers and artisans. Nearly 80% of the rural households in India are in small and marginal farmer category. In the urban areas, unorganized sector comprises mainly of workers in the small-scale industry, casual workers in the construction, trade and transport, and those who work as street vendors, headload workers, garment makers, rat pickers, and all these comprises of the unorganized sector. Besides getting the irregular work and low-paid jobs, these workers also face social discrimination. Protection and support to the unorganized sector workers is thus necessary for both economic and the social development of any country. Another way of classifying economic activities into services could be on the basis of who owns assets and is responsible for the delivery of services. In public sector, the government owns most of the assets and provides all the services. Example, railways. In the private sector, ownership of assets and delivery of assets is in the hands of the private individuals or companies. Example, Reliance or Tisco. Now the sectors in terms of ownership, that is the public and the private sector. As we just learned, in the public sector, it has been controlled and managed by the government completely. In the private sector, it is controlled and managed by an individual or a group. The main aim of the public sector is public welfare. Here, the main aim of the sector is to earn profits. The sector provides basic facilities like education, health, food, and security to the people. For example, railways, post office, BSNL, etc. The private sector does not provide any service at a reasonable rate. For example, the Tatas, the Birlas, etc. Now, coming to the end of the chapter, what is it that we have learned? This is the summary of the complete chapter, or the things what I learned in today's session. In this chapter, we have looked at the ways of classifying the economic activities into some meaningful groups. The data for India for the last 30 years shows that while goods and services produced in the tertiary sector contribute the most to GDP, the employment remains in the primary sector. We have also seen what all can be done for increasing the employment opportunities in the country. Another classification is to consider whether people are working in organized or in an unorganized sectors. Most people who are working in the unorganized sectors and the protection is necessary for them. What are the basic measures the government is taking to help these unorganized sector workers? We also looked at the difference between the private and the public activities and why is it important for the public activities to focus on certain areas. So from this, we conclude that from the above discussions, we can conclude that both the organized and the unorganized sectors are prevalent in the country and contributes their share for the development of the economy. But organized sector have many advantages because its employees enjoy more benefits, earn more money, have job security, etc. when compared to the employees of the unorganized sector. I hope this session was very clear to you all. Thank you.